Hey Aries, I'm Eleanor and welcome to Peaches by Starlight Tarot. This is your 4th week of February pick a card reading, and even though I have it labeled as the 4th week of February, the timelines are fluid, and if any time you see the title and it resonates with you, it's probably the time for you to hear the message. Also, not everything is going to resonate, and that's why I offer personal readings, and my Etsy page to get one is listed below. But if at any time during the reading you do hear something that you think is going to help you, hit that like button. Subscribe if you want to keep up with the story and get notified of my weekly readings. I do them every week plus a monthly. And if you hear something that you think is going to help someone else, go ahead and share. I'm a new channel, and so all of that stuff really helps me out. And go ahead and comment as well and tell me which stack you picked and how it's working out for you. This week we're talking about the Four of Wands and a decision. This is your monthly, and this is your weekly, and these videos where you see me shuffle on camera and they come out, those are linked below if you want to see them. But this is a week of decision making, possibly. And the Four of Wands, I found it interesting that it came out in February as your February energy because of the way Valentine's Day shows up in February. And that's not a day that everyone buys into or everyone cares about, but it is a day that it feels like it represents Four of Wands in the way we culturally decide what is important to celebrate and what's important to pause and think about, and to, on days, certain days that it's important to be together on or to acknowledge, whether you buy into it or not. And I think some people are anti certain days like that because, like, well, I love you all year long, or there's certain things that it seems silly to have a day to mark them because you're supposed to be doing that at 365. But is it so bad to have a day that you stop and that you remind it that we do have to pause, that culturally we do take a break and step out, and because you can lose perspective? And why not have a day to remind yourself, are you doing that year round? And it's not so much about that day, but it's a pause and reflect on, are you doing that year round? And that's just an example of one thing that this could mean, but I feel like this week with this decision making, that's the kind of philosophical inquiry you may need to tap into to help you out with that. So I'm using Enchanted map and Tarot of the Magical Forest. This is stack 1, stack 2, stack 3, and they're timestamped below. Let's get started, Aries. Stack 1, you have the Chariot in reverse, the Magician in reverse, and Deep Freeze. That's having trouble focusing because of all that icy, wintry stillness there. And that is really in alignment with this. With the Magician and the Chariot in reverse, it's definitely, while we do have a decision that you're facing right now, it's not going to be the week where you make that decision and charge forward. There is a whole lot of pause and reflect messaging right here, that it is time to pull back and to regenerate and to do some more thinking and to fine-tune what already is, the information that you already have, and to try to put it together in new ways and gain different perspectives, but to hold yourself back and to hold yourself out from taking a leap at this point. That there's a hibernative, it's time to hibernate, it's time to put your feet up, and to be more receptive for information than generative of action this week. All right, stack 2, you have, where is it? 8 of Swords reversed, 5 of Pentacles reversed, and Unexpected Visitors. Where's the, okay. So when 8 of Swords comes up in reverse, I like to say it's talking about taking the blinders off. And the 5 of Pentacles in reverse is where you're no longer going to be holding yourself apart. So I'm feeling like there may have been a degree to where you've been hemmed in by some negative self-talk and hemmed in by feeling like you may not be measuring up to the expectations of others, and telling yourself that you can or cannot do a thing, and that you should hold yourself apart, and that you shouldn't engage. And that with this Unexpected Visitors, it's talking about a new willingness. It's like you want more. I see you, this decision having to do with desiring more, and wanting it badly enough to move towards it, to surrender some of that negative self-talk and that self-sabotage and move forward a little bit more fearlessly, because it's going to be worth it. Yes, this feels like, I want to say it feels like a saying yes to more, and not limiting yourself and keeping yourself apart because of what you feel you may or may not measure up to, but deciding. And so it's also about expectations is the word I've been trying to think of. Releasing expectations of exactly what it looks like, and being more open to receive when you're able, when you're willing to stop measuring by certain standards and just being open to whatever, and having less of a rigid idea of what it looks like based on what other people tell you. Stack 3, you have the Knight of Swords reversed, the Devil, and Flying. All right. So it does show you wanting to, there is an element of desiring to fly free and desire to take a leap of faith and to move forward into something unknown and something exciting. But there's a little bit of a warning here that there are still some limitations, and that there's a little bit of prep work to do first. And I feel like it has to do with gaining a higher perspective, getting a view of just how big the vista is, and getting that perspective of how a little bit of humility and respect for how big the leap is, and like the way you would measure up, like on a video game before you leap, or if you were going to take a jump parkour or whatever, you would have to size it up and think about it. So they're wanting you to gain that higher ground and get a really good perspective on what this is before you just go for it blindly. And because with this Devil, there's still, I feel like part of it has to do with sizing it up, but part of it has to do with realizing that there may still be something you're tethered to and something you're still tied to. And if you take a leap and you try to fly, you're going to get to the end of it and it's going to jerk you back down. So there's still some prep work you need to do, and some examination and some assessment of the bigger picture before you do take that leap. But you are being called forward to do so. Okay, Aries? I'll talk to you in a week. Thank you.